what advice have you given to some of your students? And do you feel for yourself also in the unknown
Mhm.
of the time ahead?
Yeah, no, I definitely feel a lot of unknown. I will say, especially heading into your freelance work, a lot of the work that I had worked very hard to line up for myself is falling through. I have absolutely no idea as of this date right now what I'll be doing at any point next season. I'm not affiliated with any specific organization right now for the most part. So I'm just vaguely affiliated with a few through teaching and things like that. So it's quite up in the air, and that's scary. And that is something that, I've been in and out of a lot of struggle with, and I've felt a lot of anxiety about. The anxiety component of this is very real and very hard to tackle. But yeah, it's, I think, just the little steps. Like every time I can think about, I've actually taken to making, and this was on the advice of the entrepreneur course that I'm in. Everyone in that class now is making ridiculous lists, just dumping everything you could possibly hope to accomplish into a list and not feeling like you need to tackle any of it in any particular order, but just having it out there to free your mind of the anxiety of remembering. And I think for ballet students, that can even be, a laundry list of things that, you feel like you struggle with as a dancer. Maybe reflect back. When I was last in classes, I felt like I was always, turning better to the right and not to the left, or I felt like I was always balancing better on my right leg than my left leg, or, I've noticed that in pictures of me in on O, I'm always like really flexing my wrists in a way that I shouldn't be flexing them. And I tend to be kind of floppy that way. And, just, there's moments where I feel like I'm sickling more than I should be. And maybe the path of my foot isn't quite right. But even making a list, I think that way can be a way to stay engaged with knowing that every day the little chipping away at work, at working, showing up to class and just maybe just give yourself a daily task that way. Today I'm going to really focus on, articulating my feet more, or today I'm going to really focus on making sure I'm turning out from my glutes and the tops of my legs instead of just for, right at the hip, and or for my knees, which is my nightmare. But just, all those little things. So I think good advice for students, and I know for me in the work that I'm doing outside of the studio, all the things I'm doing with my podcast and the film, it's been immensely helpful to just have this big list of even just minor things that I can tackle. And it kind of leads to a better sense of accomplishment too. That feeling of checking off one of those things, no matter how small it is. I try to make sure I check off at least one or two a day. And then oftentimes when I get on a roll, I'll end up checking off more. But I think that's a way for, this is the long haul. We're in this for
Yeah.
a while, and you can't just blindly show up the same way every day. And we're human, our bodies are different every day too. And so I think evaluating at the top of the day what task you can focus in on more versus just being generally a good dancer, because it's very hard to just maintain fabulous dancer status. But having these little
Mhm.
things to work on can be really helpful to making it not feel so tedious. And I will say I felt that a lot for myself recovering from injuries. So I would advise students
Yeah.
to make a list of things you want to accomplish, and also just to really be honest with yourself, and not in a self-hating way, but just what are your habits. I spent a lot of time, I still find things that I thought I've fixed that, still just old habits die hard, and you want to
Yeah.
I get riskier than I think I am being sometimes, and just all these little things that again we don't get to look at very often. But just again, not in a critical way, not criticizing yourself for having those habits, but just thinking of those things as something that you can feasibly tackle right now.
Mhm.
I think will be very helpful.
That's very.
And like you were saying before, it would be easy to sort of push them aside and be like, no, I don't want to. But it's almost the same as what you were saying with the emotions coming up. Like, just be in them, like be in those uncomfortable things and just sort of address them. And the thing that I keep thinking about in this conversation is perspective. Like right now we are really having this whole new perspective of like, life, life is like the most important thing, and that we all stay healthy. And so you're talking about, trying to stay in shape, but the floor is uneven. And, we all have to keep that really greater perspective here of like what's really important. And, I feel that with your career as well, to really keep that perspective. You had this long, beautiful career, making it, rising to a soloist, and, and it's keeping perspective of that whole beautiful picture of what this has been for you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Somebody might look at all of us and say, but you guys had jobs. But I think what's important for everybody to understand is, as dancers, you never feel job security. You always feel like, but if I fall short at what I'm doing, I might lose my job, but you'll lose the parts, or you'll lose the position that you worked so hard. It's really, it's such an in the moment profession that I always felt like I was only as good as my last performance. And then you have to reprove yourself again the next day. So even if you have a job, you don't sit there going, oh, I have my job, it's okay, I got injured, I'm out for a year. Like, that's not how it really works. That's not how we think as dancers. We think, oh goodness, can I ever get back to what I was? And will I ever develop into my potential and do the roles that I dream to do, as well as the job itself, whether you have a job or not. So I think as dancers, we're all focused on achieving our potential and achieving our dreams. And so regardless of whether you're a professional or not, and what your situation is, we're all in the same boat with that. We all are trying to fulfill our potential and have the most authentic life in this profession, in this world, as we can. So that's where I think the pressure comes in and the stress comes in when we feel that something has prevented us from doing that.